there are two statistics that I would like you to keep in mind during the entire debate. First is that 160 million Catholics currently reside in sub-Saharan Africa. Second, that 1/3 of all males aged between 16 and 35 in sub-Saharan Africa have HIV/AIDS. These are startling statistics, and some moral blame must be approved. That's why before I move on to my constructive, let me first give you some points of definition. First, what do we mean by charge? Now, as Imran has constantly reminded me, this is a debate and this is a motion. It is not a court of law, and therefore charge is not going to be interpreted as a term of art. Rather, this debate will be about a value judgment. It is about us deciding whether the Vatican has formed actions that invite moral opprobrium, whether we can heap blame upon them for their position on use of condoms in Africa. Second, what is a crime against humanity? A crime against humanity is defined as a systematic and targeted denial of an entire people group's right to an equality of respect as a member of the human race. That is a crime against humanity. And we believe that three pertinent manifestations of a crime against humanity exist in the current motion. First, it is the prevention, no thank you sir, of the ability of local governments to use whatever means necessary to preserve life, especially in the face of a public health crisis. Secondly, no thank you madam, it is the stymieing of local efforts to use whatever means necessary to prevent excessive suffering. And last, it is the prevention of an individual's right to engage in sex without the transmission of HIV. Now, what is the Vatican's stance on condoms? And this is where it dovetails very nicely into my position, my team's position, on how we keep moral sanction upon them. We believe that the Vatican's err is two ways: a sin of commission and a sin of omission. What is the sin of commission? It has very actively discouraged the use of condoms, no thank you sir. Secondly, it has told priests to preach a message, a religious message, which says that the use of condoms is tantamount to doing the devil's work. This is unacceptable. Secondly, it is also, no thank you sir, when manifested in practice, resulted in many priests telling their flocks that they should actually poke holes in condoms and actively subvert the use of condoms. Third, it is to actively spread misinformation about the use of condoms, to say they're not safe, that they cause public health problems, and this we feel how is misinformation and is dangerous. What is its sin of omission? No thank you sir. We believe that first, its sin of omission is its failure to prosecute the people who are responsible for misinformation. It knows that several people are deviating from its core message. It knows that these missionaries are doing something which is unacceptable, but yet it very actively tells the bishops who are in charge of sub-Saharan Africa not to prosecute these people. This is the sin of omission. Now, as the first speaker, we're talking about how we can lay a charge of moral blame upon them on the basis of command responsibility, as well as because they created a culture of fear in sub-Saharan Africa. First point. No, thank you, sir. My second speaker, we're talking about how our policy improves a system of accountability for religious institutions in general. Now, on to my construction. No, thank you, sir. Why do we believe that there is command responsibility in this circumstance? Let me first explain what command responsibility is. Command responsibility is a doctrine that develops international law to say that all superiors should be responsible, personally responsible, for the decisions or the actions undertaken by the subordinates. This was established in the Nuremberg trial, and this was further extended in the prosecution of Lieutenant Kelly for the My Lai massacre of 1972, when he directed all his troops to massacre 352 Vietnamese citizens, no thank you sir, in the Vietnam War. Now, why do we believe that the Vatican is responsible on a command responsibility basis? I'll take you in one moment, sir. Because very simply, members of the House, I already told you that they have had a policy of the non-prosecution and non-disciplining of missionaries who actively spread misinformation about the use of condoms and its purpose in medical frontiers.
The Church spreads the same message on condoms even in Western liberal democracies and their pockets which are extremely conservative. Why not charge them with the same crimes in those areas?
Because of the urgency of the problem, sir. I told you to bear two very startling statistics in mind. It's about the influence that the Catholic Church has in sub-Saharan Africa, combined with the scale of the humanitarian crisis that currently exists. Where 1/3 of the population is infected with HIV/AIDS, it is estimated by scientists that all you need is 3 years of sexual reproduction without any control to explode this into a full-blown epidemic where millions of people will die every single day. No thank you, sir. The Economist recently described the epidemic in Sub-Saharan Africa as a humanitarian crisis, the like of which the world has never experienced before. It is the robbing of an entire generation's chance at life, success, and the pursuit of happiness, if you believe in the American Declaration of Independence. Now, Mr. House, how is this command responsibility doctrine going to apply in this instance? We believe, Mr. House, that it's very well established in international law that where they have very actively said that there's a policy of not going to prosecute these people, they are responsible for this. They are not responsible because they have failed to prosecute them, but they're responsible because they tell their subordinates not to do anything about this. This is willful blindness, Mr. House, which is the doctrine in law. But we don't even have to know law to understand that if someone recklessly turns his eye away from a pressing danger, from a risk that he himself, no thank you, sir, has created, this is grounds for inviting moral responsibility. Next. I would like to talk about the parallel that I would draw between, no thank you, sir, the Vatican's treatment of child sex abusers. Recently, Pope Benedict XVI came up and said that we are sorry. The Vatican as an institution, the Catholic Church as an institution, is sorry for what it has done over the child sex abusers in all over the world. It issued this apology because it had a policy of systematically turning a blind eye towards child sex abusers and not defending them. The same policy is applied here. There should be moral sin. Now, why is there a sin of commission? Why is there a creation of a culture of fear? Where the fastest growing religious group in a particular locality tells these people that they should not use the condoms, they should not follow the government's policy of utilizing condoms to prevent a public health epidemic, then what happens is that you're retrograding the public health authority's jurisdiction in this particular instance. You are stymieing effort, and you're not giving individuals a choice in this particular instance. You're creating a climate of fear where individuals, because of misinformation, because of peer pressure from people who are adherents of the Catholic faith, and who tell them that you should not use condoms. What it creates in totality, in summary, is a situation whereby public health authorities have their hands tied, and where individuals no longer have the freedom to use condoms, even if they are not themselves Catholics. This is the spread of a culture of fear. It is the creation of a system whereby one entire generation's possibilities, and potentiality, and excellences are not going to be realized. This is, members of the House, a crime against humanity.